Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome everyone to the February 8th business meeting of the Grosse Ile Township Board of Trustees. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, once again, welcome. I'd like to thank everyone for coming, and I was reminded that we have a lot of our residents in Florida this time of year, some who like to watch this, so those of you watching at home down in sunny climes, thanks for looking in on us. Keeping an eye on what we're doing with your township. We have the entire board here tonight. We can conduct business as published. We've completed a study session and the election commission for the upcoming March 8th election. At this time, we've got the regular meeting started. I'm going to request additions and deletions to tonight's agenda, and we do have a couple. And I guess the first one, actually they're both mine. I'm requesting the board allow for a closed session to be added to the end of this of tonight's meeting, and the topic will be the litigation Wayne County Circuit Court case number 15-001106.
Support.
Okay, supervisor's motion, treasurer second. Discussion among the board. None offered. Those in favor of adding this as a closed session, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None offered. That will be added at the end. I also am requesting a discussion among the board, not a decision, but a discussion on the possibility of canceling the March 28th business meeting, as it's the day after Easter. Friday, the Township Hall is closed, and moving all that forward to the March 14th meeting.
Support.
Okay, moved by the supervisor, second by Trustee Budney. Discussion among the board? None offered. Those in favor of adding a discussion item regarding the 28th March business meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That will be added prior to public comment at the end of tonight's agenda. Those in favor of approving the agenda, any other additions, deletions to tonight's agenda? Okay, with none offered, those in favor of approving the agenda as amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The agenda stands amended. With that, we will public hearing.
Good evening. Tonight's public hearing is regarding Community Development Block Grant Funds. CDBG, it's commonly referred to as is Community Development Block Grant Funds, which is a grant program funded through HUD. They have very specific guidelines on what and how the monies can be allocated. It must benefit low to moderate low income persons, benefit low to moderate low income limited clientele, meaning people with special needs, meet a particular urgent community need, or address slum and blight housing issues. As you can imagine, we're very blessed here in Grosse Ile, so some of those areas we don't allocate money for because we don't necessarily have the issues to address. So we're very limited on some of the projects that we can do with our CDBG money.
Excuse me a moment, Ms. Boyd.
Yes?
I'm sorry, Board, we do need to recess the regular meeting to call the public hearing to order to be legal.
Okay.
So if we could do that, I noted at 7:36 Ms. Boyd started, if you're in concurrence with that. And then we will have to adjourn the public hearing and go back into regular session.
Can we, by consensus, that we have recessed to the public hearing, or do you need a vote?
No.
We'll go with consensus, and you captured the time.
Do I need to start over? Okay, good.
Right.
Okay. So the monies that were allocated are anticipated monies allocated to the town, determined again by HUD, and it's based on community need, extent of poverty, population, housing, overcrowding, age of housing, population, and growth lags in relationship to larger or metropolitan areas. Typically, we get our allocations or the applications to apply for the grant November, December. So usually you see me up here, at the end of the year. Wayne County is going through a lot of changes, and in particular, this program is going through a lot of changes. So we were initially told, don't do any public hearings. We're not sure how the money is going to be allocated. And then in January they said, we're going to allocate the money, but it's due in February. And we're like, we can't do that because you have to have 2 public hearings. So they sent on another letter saying, we'll give you to March, which again is still a very quick turnaround time. So we're in our situation, some other communities had a large issue with this. We're kind of not, I want to say pigeonholed, but we have very slim and narrow areas that we can spend the monies on the island due to the grant outline. We had a dip in our, when I say anticipated money, they go on the previous year's dollar amount that you were allocated, and then in June, even though we apply now in the springtime, they go through and they allocate the funds after everything's been turned in, and they see what their dollar amount is given. 2 years ago, 2014, our anticipated income to spend was about $60,000. We did see a very large cut. We only ended up with $3,000 that year, so some of our projects did get cut that year. We were actually lucky last year. We did see a boost in almost $8,000 in our funds. So we've been told to go based on what we were allocated last year. So that is what we're going to apply. Our project area that we allocate our monies to here on Groseal is 1, senior programming. We allocate $24,000, which is the max that we can do for programming or health and human service issues. So that's $24,000, and that goes for our Meals on Wheels transportation, our staffing, and other senior programming. So that helps offset the price of our Meals on Wheels driver and our our senior van transportation, our essential service runs. We also participate in Senior Alliance, which is a nonprofit program through the Area Agency on Aging. They provide meals when Meals on Wheels doesn't run, or if there's a specific need in a household. They do in-home nursing care, emergency prescription, and transportation services for long-term programs, like when people are going through dialysis or cancer treatment, where it's on every day or a much more needed schedule than what we can provide. And we're one of 34 communities within Wayne County that participate in that program, and we allocate $1,750 towards that program. Then our other area of programming is ADA improvements, and this is where we've done a lot of our, we've done improvements to the playground, parking lot, pool lift, the ADA accessible kayak launch, our new senior transportation van. So these are all items that we've purchased through this grant program. This year we're seeking funds for modifications to the farm. The flooring, our egresses out of the activity area are not ADA compliant, so we're looking to spend allocated funds of $22,797 on the farm's activity center to make that compliant and comfortable for our seniors. So that is where we are allocating our funds if given this year.
Questions, comments from Ms. Boyd?
We just have to see if there's any public comment.
Yeah, public comment.
And with no board comment from the public president. Well, I guess we can expect you to get to work then. It's done yeoman's work so far. We're doing reasonably well. The community development, again, as you pointed out, normally aim for communities that are struggling a little harder, but there's
some amazing programs that are done throughout the county, and some communities, they get hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they've done amazing things in their community. Like I said, we're very lucky and very privileged here that we don't necessarily need to address some of those issues. So it's nice to be able to provide the extras that we're allowed to with this program. And what the future will hold with the program, they're doing a lot of different tossing back and forth of ideas. They might pool the money and you have to apply for your idea. There's a lot of talk, and they just didn't have it all together for this year. So one more year we have this system, and we'll see what it holds for next year.
Brandy, we have there'll be a second meeting on this?
Yes.
So, and then will that be our next meeting?
It's at the next meeting, yes.
Okay.
And then that's when it goes to the board for approval as well.
So, ladies and gentlemen out there in the TV audience, if you have any questions, come to that meeting and make it known.
Or they can submit questions to the clerk's office, and then the clerk would read them. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Boyd. At this time, I will request we
Adjourn
adjourn the public hearing and return to the open meeting.
Second.
Okay, those in favor of returning to open meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, I'll put that at, 44, back in the open session. At this time, we'll open to public comment on tonight's agenda item. Well, actually, with the discussion, we could make items, but I see none offered. So that consent agenda, Mr. Treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I'd like to recommend approval of the consent agenda 15-096. It includes the minutes of the January 25th, 2016 regular meeting, and the check register dated through February 5th, 2016.
Support.
Okay, moved by the Treasurer, second by Trustee Budney. Questions, comments among the board on the consent agenda?
Mr. Supervisor, I do have a minor change under my portion for the reports on page 3. The website, Island Fest, needs to be changed to islandfestgrozeal.com. In the minutes, yeah. Whoops, that went. Visit www.islandfestgrozeal.com for more information. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I think I know what was behind that. Okay, a clarification on that. Other corrections to the minutes? All right, with none offered, those in favor of approving the consent agenda as corrected, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda now stands approved. And with that, we'll move on to the action item. And Fire Department, Mr. Malvesto, did you introduce this?
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm not.
Maybe I jumped in. I thought it was the Chief Murdoch was
Right.
foster father of this. Is that? Anyway, I've got it right here. So just bring. You got it?
I apologize. I
got a print copy if that's easier.
no, this will be good. All right, action item, ordinance revision. Proposed motion is to amend Chapter 135-1A. 3 of the Groseal Township Code of Ordinances by adopting ordinance number 16-001 to update the township fees and charges for certain medical services provided to persons incarcerated or transported by the township. This ordinance shall become effective 30 days after the publication.
Support.
Okay, moved by Trustee Malvesto, seconded by Trustee Budney. Well, Chief, explain what we're doing here.
Sorry about that.
No. Please.
Medicare made some changes in our billing procedures, and people that are incarcerated by the Groseal Police Department no longer have health care under Medicare and Medicaid, and usually the private services follow suit. The only way I can collect from incarcerated patient to take them to the hospital is either have an ordinance in place that I can bill at the time of their payment after they leave the courtroom, or I bill Groseal Police Department direct, and they would be responsible for those costs. So I chose to go first one. So basically, it's a revenue stream that we've been losing out on over about the last year, and it's something that I don't want to do. It's got to get paid for our services, I guess, is long and short of it. And the only way I can do that is by ordinance. So.
Okay,
Medicare is the mother of how all our ambulance services are applied to each individual. Then the private services follow suit. They write the rules, and then everybody else follows them.
Okay, without this ordinance, this cost would be borne by the Grosse Ile taxpayers.
Well, we wouldn't collect, so that, yeah, in sense.
Inevitably, yeah, the taxpayers would be covering this. So
Because they're using the rig, our equipment, and all the medical supplies that might be on the ambulance, and they're getting it for free.
Okay, questions, comments for Chief Murdoch?
Chief, I know you just explained it, but to be clear, the fee that you collect at the time of your medical runs, that replaces all of your supplies. You use that for replacing the supplies in your ambulances and whatever.
Yeah, it all goes into, it's a, Ann and I follow it. We keep it separate from general operations, but it's all part of the main operation of the fire department. It all falls under one umbrella. So, but we track it and how we're spending it. So,
but again, it's pretty much replacing your medical supplies.
Medical supplies, education, ambulances, training, wear and tear on vehicles, all kinds of things. So,
thanks.
Other questions, comments for the chief? All right, with none offered, those in favor of authorizing an amendment to Chapter 135-183 of the Grosse Ile Township Code of Ordinances by adopting ordinance number 16-001 to update the township's fees and charges for certain medical services provided to persons incarcerated or transported by the township.
We need a roll call vote. Roll call.
All right, thank you for the reminder. This ordinance shall become effective 30 days after publication. And for the roll call, let me begin with Trustee Malvesta.
Aye.
Trustee Posiak.
Aye.
Trustee Smith.
Aye.
Trustee Budney.
Aye.
Treasurer Van Oss.
Aye.
Clerk Ranka.
Aye.
Supervisor votes aye. Motion carries. That concludes our action items. That. Step to the clerk's report. Clerk Ranka.
Mr. Supervisor, so there's an election coming up March 8th. The last day to register for new voters or new residents to Grosse Ile was today, February 8th. Absentee ballots for the Democratic and Republican presidential primaries are available to qualified voters upon request at the clerk's office. For this election, voters must request either a Republican or Democratic ballot when going to their precinct or voting absentee. The clerk's office is accepting applications for election inspectors for the March 8th election. We could still have room for some alternates, although technically we have a full staff right now, which is very good. It is a paid position, and it does include training. Sample ballots are available at the clerk's office at grosseile.com. And please check your 2015 voter ID card or check the precinct map online to verify where you are assigned to vote. A couple other things. There is a Planning Commission meeting now March 7th. It goes March 7th. I'll check that and get back, but it was first Monday. So a late ad today. Regarding the recent law enacted that restricts the township or local municipalities from discussing ballot issues, is a temporary restraining order on it right now. So on February 5th, United States District Judge John Colbert O'Mara issued an order temporarily enjoining the state from enforcing Section 57-3 of the Michigan Campaigns Finance Act, MCL 169.257. This was the recent law that prevented the townships and other public bodies from communicating regarding local ballot questions during the 6 days period before an election. The court's order enjoins enforcement of that law, pending further order from the court. The court also clarifies that the provision of the statute that prohibits the use of public funds to advocate for ballot measures remains in effect. So before this temporarily, or this injunction, basically, the township could have zero communications about local ballot issues within 60 days of an election. Now this puts it back to kind of how we had been operating before. We can have communications, we can use township facilities to communicate, but we cannot advocate for or against an ordinance. So we can just pump out information, which is how this township has been acting for as long as I can remember. And that's it for the clerk's report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Treasurer.
Thank you, Brian. For the month of December, Grosse Ile Township had a total of $17,700,000 $797,913 invested in various accounts. This pay period, or this tax collection, was our only payday. These accounts generated a total of $3,311 in interest, which is an average of 0.37%. Last year it was under 1,000, so it's going in the right direction, but it's sure taken a long time to get there. I recall when I took office for the first time, the end of that fiscal year, the township had garnished about $952,000 in interest. So we're a far cry from that, but we're at least going in the right direction. The current breakdown of all of our investment accounts is available online at groceal.com at the Treasurer's website. Groceal winter property taxes are due a week from tomorrow, Friday, February the 16th, without a penalty. A 3% penalty will be added on all unpaid winter tax bills after that date. March 1st is the date that all unpaid taxes, summer and winter, become delinquent and must be paid to the Wayne County. And I don't have to repeat, that's not where you want to go. If you cannot pay your winter taxes by the due date of February 15th, there's a deferment available for those who qualify. Approved deferment applications will defer payment date until April 30th, but must be submitted to the Treasurer's office by February 16th. And if you currently have a deferment, that must be renewed. So you'll need to get in and see Annette or someone in my office. The reminder letters have been sent reminding all of those who have filed summer tax deferments that summer taxes are due payable on February the 16th. The 2016 pet tags are available at Township Hall. The cost is now $12. Be sure to provide proof of rabies and vaccination when purchasing your pet tag. We'll have a Commerce Park meeting on the 15th of February, and it would be either tune in or attend that meeting, because we're now in final stage planning for the runway rehab on 422. That's going to be a major event for the township. You're going to see tons and tons of trucks coming off the island for about 2 months as soon as the frost laws are off. We have to remove the entire runway. We're looking at a minimum of 20 trucks continuous on and off the island 6 days a week. It will create a mess. Count on it. It's going to be a disruption. And if you have any input that you want to make, most of that is being directed through the Commerce Park Commission at this time. That total project is going to cost in the vicinity of $6 million, of which the township is percentage of cost of that will be about $550,000. And all of those funds will come from the airport. The airport is an enterprise zone, and we will be responsible. There will be no impact on the taxpayers. I have nothing else.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Let's move to trustee reports. Begin, Mrs. Smith.
Mr. Supervisor, I have no report tonight.
That, Mr. Malvesto.
Chief, I think we have a meeting, Fire Commission meeting this Thursday, and CRC meeting the 25th. 25th at 7:30. That's it for mine.
Thank you, Mr. Malvesto. Mr. Budney.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I have nothing tonight. We do have a DPS meeting tomorrow night.
7:30 right here?
7 o'clock. Yep.
I'm sorry.
Can I ask Treasurer Vance one question? You said 20 trucks. That's 20 trucks per day, 20 trucks per week?
20 trucks continuous, every day.
Every day, during daylight hours?
I think, as I recall, don't hold me to this, but it's 7 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay,
6 days a week. We're not going to work on Sundays.
Mr. Posey asked.
All of those that said they didn't have a report tonight, I'm claiming their time. You know me. Greenways Open Space met last week, Tuesday, And BPAC will be meeting a week from tomorrow. These are my two hands-on committees. These are people that really have poured the coal on again for this year. So a big shout out for both of those groups. Things are starting to happen with spring coming in both groups. If you're interested, come on down. We'd love to have you there. A comment that the Recreation Department Daddy-Daughter Dance was a great success. It was nicely attended. I got demoted. I was always the bartender, and this year I got demoted to bouncer. But everybody there seemed to have a great time, the little girls especially. And thank you all for coming. You made it a great event. Brandy and your crew, 3 cheers for you. August 19th and 20th, I'm seeing that there's a thing called an island-wide garage sale. Buy all your stuff on the 19th, because on the 20th, we're going to be walking the path and watching the Wayne State University Barradura come through Rose Hill again. They promised 1,500 riders this year. So that's a lot of bicycles, and they're cruising. So I think it's going to be, again, another wonderful weekend. And finally, I heard there's a chili contest going on. And we threw down the gauntlet, and Smokies is taking the gauntlet. They are entering their white chicken chili. And we have several entrants already. I'm waiting to do anything about attendance figures until the 18th of February, when I can find out exactly how many thousands of hot dogs I'll need. But come on down, buy a ticket, bring your friends, have a good time. End of my report.
Thanks, Mr. Treasurer.
Tom, I just want to clarify. When I said 20 trucks, that'll be 20 trucks continuous. I would assume that that'll constitute probably 100 to 125 crossings daily over that bridge. So it's not just 20 trucks. Those 20
There'll
trucks,
be 20 trucks.
and they're going to run all day, 6 days a week. So
Thank you for the clarification.
Ted,
It'll be busy.
it'll be a traffic jam of trucks. Yeah, well,
just a quick question. Where is the soil going?
pardon?
Where is the soil and the spoils going?
You know, I'm not sure where they're going to dump them. We were hoping we could get some facilities on Henneman Point, but that doesn't look like to be an option, so they're going to take them off the island to a crusher someplace. And they're going to double load because we have to rebuild the entire runway. They're going to be bringing aggregate in one load, and those same trucks will be taking product off the island.
It'll be heavy both ways, and it all
trucks will be
depends
full.
on where it's coming from and how long it takes to load. It takes about an hour to load a truck.
The trucks will be full both ways. So.
All right. Moving on, Township Attorney, Mr. Assorti.
I just have one quick item for you. The lawsuit that is currently pending by the island residents against Groseal Township, Groseal Police Department, Groseal Township Board. You guys are familiar with the case. All of you individually, Chief Porcerelli. Sorry, Joe. Last Thursday was dismissed by Judge Susan Hubbard in the Wayne County Circuit Court. She has until Thursday to enter an order. An order will not be entered before Thursday under the rules, but she'll issue a final order at that time that's been submitted to her. There are, of course, appeal rights that come with that, but as of now, that lawsuit is done and over with. And yes, that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Assorti. Township Manager's report. Mr. Riem.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I'd like to update the board and the community on a few odds and ends. Number one, the Township Hall repair of the hallway. We requested clarification from the contractor proposals. Mr. Lawler from Baird & Lawler is assisting me in putting all this information together. We're trying to coordinate the proposals from different contractors, and we hope to have that information back within a week, and we'll be coming to the board as soon as possible. I'd like to point out the repurposing of Elmo. This is an overhead projector. As you know, in the last meeting, we had learned that the camera died. This was a piece of equipment we've had, but Ted was able to repurpose it. And so it's just that, an overhead projector. So, and Mr. Supervisor, I think this is going to be part of your report, so I'll leave that there if you don't mind. And then the last item I want to talk to everyone about is the information regarding the Army Corps of Engineers environmental investigation at Naval Air Station Groseal. The Corps of Engineers, they held a meeting here at the Township on the 27th of January, and the main topic was the regarding a restoration advisory board. And a restoration advisory board basically is a way to encourage community involvement. The Corps of Engineers has done several studies, environmental reviews of the airport property, and throughout this environmental restoration process, there's steps that are needed to be taken on the entire facility. But they identified 25 areas of concern, and they are to the point where they believe 21 of these areas of concerns can be evaluated, reported, and closed. 4 of them need additional investigation, possible remediation, and their goal is closure. And in the process, when they get to this point, they like to seek additional input and community involvement, and that's the possibility of the Restoration Advisory Board. A Restoration Advisory Board can be formed at the Corps of Engineers level because they think it's a good idea. They can do it because they have petitions from the residents, or they can do it because the township local government body is asking them to do that. And the actual questionnaire that the Corps of Engineers will send out will have a lot of this information in. They're going to send it to all the residents within a mile of the airport. So the meeting that Corps had was just to explain this process. Supervisor Loftus attended, Chief Porcerelli was there, and we are at a point where what information do we request from the Corps? How do we want to get involved? I know by talking to some of the residents, they think it's a fantastic idea that we have this advisory board. However, before we say that that's a good idea, my recommendation is I don't have a clear understanding of what our responsibilities as a township would be. And before we know that information, I ask that you give me some time to research that. But then again, the whole group of the residents could make the request, and I just don't know if it makes any difference or responsibility or legal involvement on our part if we make this request. So I want to research that, discuss some of the items with Mr. Assorti. So there was information, I don't know if you recall, I put together an email to the board last week with some of the background and history. Mr. Duker, if he has not already, it will be posted on the website. So we're just in this process. The Corps of Engineers believes that it will take easily 5 to 6 years to finish this last step as they see it, and that would be all investigation, all reports, any additional restoration or remediation if they find necessary. And one important factor I wanted to point out was the Corps stated to me that, and they alluded to it at the meeting, at the initial study, if they found something that they felt was emergency, very dangerous in nature, they would have quarantined it, fenced it off, taken some type of land use control. And I believe their comment was, to date, the investigation has not shown any high risk or immediate dangers at the site, but they're going to continue to do that investigation. So I just wanted to report this information to the board and the community, and this information, as I said, if it's not already, will be on the website. Mr. Supervisor, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ream. And thanks for putting the poster up there from DTE. So just a few odds and ends on the supervisor's report. First, housekeeping. Township offices will be closed next Monday, February 15th, 2016, in honor of the President's Day holiday. The Tails Bottle and Can Drive is continuing through February 29th, 2016. Drop-off areas at the animal shelter at Centennial Farm. Continuing, Groseal Kiwanis holding the blood drive on Saturday, February 13th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Public Safety Building. And there's more information available at www.grosealkiwanis.org/blood drive. They have a flyer which gives actually the time. The flyer looks like this. We'll make sure it gets posted, but February 13th from 10 to 4 p.m. at the Groseal Public Safety Building. So you see the notice on there, the green swaths on that overhead are where DTE is going to be doing tree trimming. You will get a phone call probably warning or asking you to keep your dogs away from the workers, and you will get a door hanger that says DTE determined the tree noted below should be removed. Door hangers, tree markers. They'll be surveying before they start cutting. You'll see them out there. It's just a small swath on our island. Looks like it's going to go between Water's Edge and the Golf and Country Club, and then up Groseal Parkway up to Four Corners. At least on this effort, there will be more going on. Molly keeps us advised of what she's doing. She's great to work with. My one final comment, March Board Review. We get a chance to complain about how high your taxes are, and as you recall earlier, we approved the fact that you can mail in your appeal. But if you're going to be in person, if you wish to appeal the 2016 assessed value on your property, please call the Groseal Township Assessor's Office at 734-676-4422, extension 210. That's Carol Canope, between 8 and 5 for an appointment. Appointments are scheduled in 10-minute intervals for presentations. Appointments are required to appear before the 2016 March Board Review. Failure to send or receive an assessment notice does not invalidate the assessment roll or the assessment on that property. Poverty applications are available upon request, so this is your chance to appeal your taxes. And I think that concludes my report. At this time, I'd like to open up a discussion item. And I thank them for their indulgence in allowing me to bring this up. Came to our attention somewhat recently that the second March board meeting, a lot happens the second board meeting in March by statute. There are a lot of things the township has to have done. We have to have our budget ready to go. We've got to make all our ordinances, everything we're doing, get our meeting schedules, our holiday schedules, everything in line for the next fiscal year, which begins April 1st. In this rare occurrence with Easter being this early, this is Monday after Easter. I know nobody in Groseal crew will be in town because they're all going down to, and you remember this, Mrs. O'Connor, everybody will be running down to, what's that town in Ohio? Marietta on the Muskingum River, and they will take the Lindemood Cup again. So we know we're going to lose a swath of residents and possibly a board member or two just because it's that week. So Ms. Darzniak and I, who are going to be working on the budget diligently, which is the big crux coming up, thought it might be better to move much of our 28th business meeting up to the 14th, including our pro forma annual meeting, have our budget work done as much as possible before then. It's going to rush our schedule a little bit, but I think it'll be just better for the community to get this done rather than to do it with everybody's mind elsewhere. So I'm not asking for a vote at this time. This is just a discussion I'd like to hear what the board thinks and what public president thinks about it. Mr. Treasurer.
It works great for me. I'll be out of town on the 28th, so if we accommodate that, it'd be wonderful.
All right, thank you, sir. Franco?
Same comments for me.
Wait, how we can make it unanimous? Well, we're putting it for a vote now, but I just want to get the feel for trustees, because Mrs. Darzniak can have to do some. If we know we're going that route, we're going to do some serious scheduling and get the budget done. Other comments, questions from the board?
Any way you want.
Okay. Thank you, sir. With that, I'll close the discussion. And with closing the discussion, let's open up the public comment tonight. Any topic, anytime. Mrs. O'Connor.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Uta O'Connor, 8148 Island Boulevard. And first of all, I'd just like to thank Mr. Budney for bringing up the, upholding the spirit of the Sunshine Laws by bringing up some important information for the public at the study session you held this evening. I know it's not always comfortable to discuss complex issues, but that's you're public officials, and that's a public problem, and it needs to be discussed in public, and I, for one, appreciate being allowed to sit in and listen. So thank you. And secondly, I would like to ask Mr. Treasurer, I didn't catch the start date and the end date of that trucking mega fiasco that we're heading toward. And
Start date is when the frost laws come off.
Okay.
And that's usually around the end of March. With this year being the way it is, we might get an earlier start on it.
Okay.
But once they lift the frost laws, it'll begin, and generally that's sometime after the 15th March. The end date, they're anticipating that within 30 days, they'll have all of the product removed and the runway re-elevated. Then we deal with the flowboys, the asphalt trucks.
Okay.
And there'll probably be a continual train of those, and I'm thinking that will be a 15-day process. So I think you're probably looking at 45 to 60 days, pretty heavy activity here on the airport. There'll be a lot of other activities that go with that, but that'll be the major impact on the community that period of time.
Okay,
I can't give you an exact start date.
No, it's just good to know, and we'll try to get the
I wanted to bring it up because I don't know if anybody understands how critical this is going to be. I mean, they're going to be coming over the bridge. It's going to be truck after truck. We're going to put signage up. We're trying to notify everybody, but it's going to be a huge inconvenience for about 45 days.
Will the township at all be able to mitigate with the railroads that doesn't further complicate the situation?
I don't think God could communicate with the railroad.
Okay.
But we'll try.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor. Other comments from the public present? Mr. Clark.
Woody Clark, Park Lane. Money for lawyers.
Only one little invoice to O'Reilly Rensselaer, the amount of $137.50.
Jeez, we're really getting off, aren't we?
This week, yeah.
Whoa. Thank you, Mr. Clark. Other comments from the public? All right, I see none offered. With that, oh, I'm sorry, Miss Boyd.
I just found out from SMART, if you remember, I believe it was either the October or November meeting, I came to you to ask for permission to apply for a grant through SMART, a Regional Transportation Authority. And I just found out that we were awarded that grant, so we will be getting money to go towards or to purchase handicap accessible transportation 15-passenger van for our seniors and trips. So we'll be back to being AA compliant and being able to take our seniors on trips and do some more programming that we've been wanting to do and haven't been able to. It still has to go through federal process, so we're still a long way from getting it, but we were actually approved for it, and then the grants that they approve are approved in the on the federal level, and then they acquire them and purchase them. So we're not going to get it tomorrow, but we will get it. So it was great news, and I just thought I'd share it with you real quick. We just found out about it. So
that is great news. Thank you.
It was cheering in the office today. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Boyd. All right, with that, entertain a motion to retire to closed session.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Trustee Budney. Seconded by Trustee Malvesto. We need a 2/3 vote for that. So those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? With none offered, the motion carries. We will be the meeting stays open, but we will be in closed session in the boardroom next door. By the way, nothing's going to happen after this.